Hello, my lovely Mystique Souls. This is Vitsi Fitch, and I welcome all of you back to my channel. Today, in this video, we will continue with our discussion in the video series of what you should be doing in order to manifest your dream house. What are your lessons and what things that you must avoid doing to really lead a very happy, pleasant stay in your house? Today we will talk about what happens if you have Jupiter placed in Taurus in your fourth house. Are you excited? Let's start the discussion. Have you heard of the idiom that too many cooks spoil the broth? Well, when you have Jupiter in Taurus, which is ruled by Venus, then this is the classic case of two gurus in the same house. Both Jupiter and Venus are scholars. They both are considered very knowledgeable in their respective areas. Jupiter or Brihaspati is regarded as the guru of the Devas, while Shukra or Venus is the guru of the Asuras. Now, when they are in the same house, like Jupiter is actually sitting in the fourth house, and Venus is ruling the fourth house because of its sign, Taurus, no one readily wants to give up the control of the house to the other person. So, what happens is we find some initial challenges. This is because while Venus is neutral towards Jupiter, Jupiter sees Venus as its enemy. This is particularly because while the energy of Jupiter is that of expansion and growth, Venus, because of the fact that it is ruling Taurus, which is placed in the fourth house, here prefers to be in a place which is beautiful, which has a lot of harmony, and which is rather very comfortable. So, what happens when Jupiter wants limitless growth and expansion, and it sits in the sign which prefers to maintain the status quo and harmony? We will see. The first thing is Jupiter in this placement starts to feel very restricted. But since Jupiter is not willing to give up the control so easily, what happens is it tries to find a way to overcome this restriction and tap into its energy of growth and expansion. When this happens, you will observe that a native with this placement has a lot of unnecessary materialistic possessions. All of these tend to add clutter into their lives. To give an example, suppose you walk into someone's home and they show you their antique collection, and you realize that in the name of home decor, what they have instead done to their living room is filled it with a lot of clutter which they do not even need to decorate that house. It is not at all looking beautiful, it is simply looking like a weird stash of items. To give another example, since Jupiter is the planet of knowledge and wisdom, you will find such natives naturally gravitate towards books a lot. Now, whether they are actually reading that book in order to gain that knowledge or not, that is a different question, but they will gravitate to books a lot. And they will also acquire those books and start storing it in their houses. You will find that if Jupiter here is negatively afflicted, this person may tend to accumulate books so much to a point that in their houses they will not have space for keeping their utilities and other furniture which they really need. Rather, there will be books scattered all over the place in clutter. To give another example, perhaps you have that one friend with this placement who has a huge collection of stationery, more than they will ever need. Okay, but when it comes to using those pens, they will always complain of a lack of not having enough pens to write a particular thing. So these are certain ways in which Jupiter tries to unleash that energy of expansion and growth in your life by accumulating unnecessary stuff, and it does so that it can always put you in an energy where you keep feeling that I must expand this portion of my house in order to make space for all these stuff that I have acquired. Or perhaps you constantly have to think like I need to move into a bigger house so that I can make space for all these things that I have acquired. But what you need to do here is, and rather, this is your lesson, okay? That you need to learn that to first ask yourself that do I really need all of these stuff? Is my growth really necessary at this point of time or not? Am I growing in a sustainable manner, or I'm simply expanding my possessions, which is only leading me towards a lot of stress? So these are the things which you must learn to question yourself when you have this kind of placement. What you need to learn here is that how to expand without causing a disharmony at what I already have. How to grow without shaking the status quo to a point that everything gets disturbed. This is the main lesson that you will be learning in this lifetime. In this particular placement, Jupiter favors the natives in matters of money. Maybe you have that one person in your network whom you always keep saying, "Oh, girl," or "Oh, guy, you're just lucky when it comes to matters of finances." And yes, here, Jupiter in this particular placement does make one lucky when it comes to matters of finance. You will see that this person usually sees a growth in their wealth, or rather they have that acumen which enables them to accumulate a lot of wealth, particularly when it is certain dashas which happen in that person's life. You will see them growing massively when it comes to their bank balances. In this particular placement, Jupiter supports you if you try to acquire financial wisdom, particularly if you want to use that wisdom to manage your family finances, your ancestral wealth, or perhaps an inheritance of family business. So, the good news is that if you ever, with this particular placement, try to obtain a loan to buy your own house, it is likely to not be problematic for you, because whenever you're taking loan, in a way you're actually expanding your wealth. You are going to invest that loan to buy a house, so you're also like growing in your status and also expanding your material possessions. So this will be supported for you. Plus, when you try to repay off that loan too, you will see that some sources or the other come up, and you usually do not have a trouble in repaying off a loan. And all of these are said assuming that the Jupiter is not afflicted by any malefic planets in this particular position. However, what you must bear in mind is that you should do it in secret. Since Venus is a planet of secrecy too, so if you're trying to obtain a loan from a particular bank, or rather from a particular branch of a bank, you should be very secretive about all of your efforts. Usually, you will see that natives with this placement have large families, or at least they have a desire in their head for a large family. And if you ask them, what is your ideal home? Mostly they would be picturing something like a huge mansion where they live with a joint family with a lot of members. And actually, it is good for them. So when you start manifesting your own house, do not picture a tiny house for you at all, because in the long run, it is going to create a sense of restriction for you even more. Let's say even if you're not having enough right now and someone is trying to convince you into it, and you're somehow buying the idea that I should be getting my own house and should not be living off on rent, because that's a good idea for me, and right now I'm not having enough resources though, so I'm going to buy a small apartment. You see, this is actually not going to be a very good idea for you at all. Now, this is not a financial advice. I'm saying it just from an astrological point of view. Your life situation concerning your finances may be totally different, but this is usually what I have observed is people who tend to buy smaller house with this placement are the ones who rather tend to complain about a lot of things in their small house. They have this tendency where they always keep feeling that I just want to run away from this place. God knows why I bought this house, and this is only causing me a lot of headache. Now, because they tend to feel very restricted in their house, and here, rather, this Jupiter trying its ways to tap into its expansiveness and breaking away from the restrictions increase so much that they tend to accumulate a lot of things in their small house and eventually they start living in a very messy situation. This gives rise to a lot of cluttered energy for them. It may, at times, if it is too extreme, it even creates a very unhealthy situation for them in which they start living in their house, which rather gives rise to related diseases, and then they start cursing their house and accuse it of having a lot of bad energies within it, which caused a lot of these things. But rather, all of these just happen because right now you're living in an apartment which is giving you a feeling as if you're living in a cage. And that is not something you'd want to do, especially if you have Jupiter in Taurus sign in your fourth house. Your ideal house is something which gives an impression that it has a lot of space within itself and its interior decor is very minimalistic. Let's say that your rental situation is not good at all and you want to quickly move to your own space and you are not getting anything which is very spacious. Before actually moving into your tiny apartment, tiny space, do invest in remodeling your house to at least give an illusion that it is very spacious. Do not move into any space which makes you feel as if you're confined into that room, as if there is no room for anything else. And be very careful of the furniture, of the interiors that you are incorporating in your space. Even if you're tempted to buy something before purchase, this is a lesson that you must learn. Before purchase, ask yourself, do I really, really need it? How is it at all contributing to my actual growth, actual expansion in life? Shift your focus from the materialistic aspect to actual things of life, which are your happiness, which is a stress free life, which is your joy, which is your beautiful moments with your family, with your loved ones. Ask yourself, is it actually contributing to those things or not? If you're simply thinking of getting yourself a new house just because you have acquired a lot of stuff and you want to move into a bigger place to make room for all of that, I'd say stop and think about it. Will it be okay if you donated or sold some of the books in your collection? Because you see, what is there in the books is all right, that is knowledge, but unless you absorb that knowledge in your life, unless you gather it within yourself, it is not going to help you out. So you can start the simple exercise of reading those books and writing down the lesson that is contained within the book. And once you're done, consider donating it to some public library or anyone you know who may really need that book, or just sell it off online. It will also earn you some money, and with the growth of your bank balances, your Jupiter will thank you here. Or let's say you have a lot of antiques and furniture accumulated. So you may want to sell out a huge chunk of them. Remember this always with your placement. You do not want to live in a house which is filled with stuff. Rather, you want to live in a house which has no unnecessary furniture or no unnecessary accumulation of anything at all. It is a good idea for you to manifest a place from where you can observe vast stretches of something, or you can observe growth and expansion on a daily basis. For example, if you live in the countryside, then what you can do is you can make some farmers as your friends and hear them talk about ways incorporated to expand your profits in agriculture. Or simply, you can go with them to their farms and witness the crops growing. You can even have your own farm and watch your crops grow. This will boost your Jupiter. If you live in some place interior, then you can watch the saplings growing into trees, particularly if you're living near the forest area. If you are a city person, then it's a good idea to have a house with a balcony from which you can watch the whole cityscape, or rather, you can observe growth and expansion happening on a daily basis. Let's say you simply live opposite to the financial center, and you watch people come into the offices, grow up in their status of their life. The more you expose yourself to these instances of growth and expansion, the more you will see growth and expansion happening in your life. And with a minimalistic approach of life, you will see that you're cutting down on your expenses and rather having a real growth in your bank balance. The money that you can later invest in something and see a situation where money is making more money for you, which is a very positive, favorable side of Jupiter. Now, if you are a plant lover, this is particular advice for you. Do not cover your whole apartment, especially your balconies, windows, and open spaces, with plants and greens a lot. To give you a very concrete example, let's say you have a very tiny small balcony, which is like 2 by 2. So, one medium sized potted plant is all you need to witness growth. Or let's say if you're having a 3 by 2 balcony, then two medium sized pots on either side and two small hangings are enough for you. Or maybe you can have, if you get creative, you can have two corner stands and grow tiny potted veggies on them. Or you can just have your one side of the wall covered with veggies and leave the other side as it is. Do not go for like an all green cover and a lot of plants in your balcony. You need to leave that space for yourself. Working from home is a norm these days, and if you are also someone working from home, then this tip is for you if you have this placement. Never ever imagine or manifest living in a noisy neighborhood. This is going to impact both your Jupiter and your Venus. And that means that both your wisdom will be cut off from you and so will be your finances. Because when you are going to live in a neighborhood which is very noisy, this noise is going to make you feel as if you're constantly surrounded by something which is restricting you. You will feel cut off from the natural wisdom that Jupiter is trying to give you. For some reason, you will feel as if your antennas are blocked by somebody, and you will also see that somehow your finances are getting highly impacted by it because Venus will not be happy as it will perceive this noise as a source of disharmony. So, to sum up, when you start manifesting your house, manifest for yourself a house which would be very spacious, where the interior decor would be very minimalistic, where you will feel at ease with yourself and you will have a chance to observe the vast stretches of something or growth and expansion happening rapidly every single day, where you can live in a very quiet, comfortable state, but at the same time focus on growth and expansion. The technique of visualization is particularly helpful for this placement in manifesting their desires into reality. You may consider finding yourself a quiet space where you meditate and visualize on the kind of house that you want in your life. The other thing that can particularly help you is journaling. Not just write about your dream house, rather, write about the affirmations that you associate with your dream house. And you may even consider drawing out your dream house if you have such artistic abilities. But remember, always be very secretive about your manifestation attempts, particularly concerning your own house. So that's it for today's video, my dear lovely Mystic Souls. Thanks a lot for watching today's video. Now, you may also consider sharing this video with anyone you think may benefit from watching this video and perhaps they find the solution to their problems in this video. I would be very happy if this video helps someone save their lives in the long run. If you want to have personal consultations with me, then do consider going over to the links given in the description box. Also, in the description box, you're going to find link to the playlist of this particular video series. Okay, I will see you again in my next. Until then, take care. Love you, my dear lovely mystic souls.